Okay, so we begin with question number 4. That's where we had stopped yesterday. And it reads that MWL Limited has in the past produced just one fairly successful product. However, a new version of this product has recently been launched. In the meantime, development works continue with the aim of adding a related product to the portfolio of products. Given below are some details of the activities carried out during the month of October 2018. We have the units produced for the existing and the new products, production costs, sales revenue, hours worked, development costs. Now compute the performance indicators that could be used for each of the 4 perspectives in the balanced scorecard. The performance indicators that could be used in so as you can see, the question is on performance measurements. Performance measurements. Performance measurements. I think my whiteboard is not very clear. I need to do adjustments. Kidogo. So we are dealing with the question of November 2018. November 2018, question 4A. And I have said the question is on performance measurement. Performance measurement. And specifically, it is on balanced scorecard. Balanced scorecard. So balanced scorecard. So in this one, we are going to divide it. The question says we compute the performance indicator for the 4 perspectives. So here we will have the perspective. And then for each perspective, we will have what they are calling performance indicator. Performance indicator. Now, that will be the name and then the computation. The computation. The computation, which we can call our measure or the actual value. Or the actual value. So the first indicator or the first perspective that we can have is the financial. Let us look at the financial. Now, in the financial, going by the information that is provided here, where we have the revenue and we have the costs, we can compute the gross profit ratio. We can compute the gross profit ratio. The gross profit ratio. Now for the existing, the gross profit ratio should be the revenue. You can see the revenue is 550. You less the costs, the production cost of 375. Then this one you divide by 550. You can even multiply by 100. Give me the answer for the existing. Give me the answer. That 1.82. That 1.8%. That 1.8%. For the new product, we do the same thing. The revenue is 125. And the cost is 70. You divide by 125 times 100. Uh-huh, 44%. 44%. Yeah, good. So that is the measure that we can use there. The measure that we can use to measure the financial performance. To measure the financial performance. And if now you are told to select between the two products, you can see this one is doing much better because it is generating 44%, while the other one is generating around that 2%. So that is the first thing that we could measure. And the reason as to why we could not use just the profit as in 550 minus 375 and 125 minus 70 is because those will be absolute values. And absolute values are not good for comparison. They are not good for comparison. Actually, if you are to do that, you would find that the existing has far much higher profit than this one, which now can make you to conclude that existing is doing better, which is not the truth. The truth is that this one is doing much better. The next dimension that we can look at is customer perspective. We can look at the issue of the customer. And then we ask ourselves, with this information that is provided, what is it that will be good to the customer? What is it that it will be good to the customer? Now, to the customer here, the only thing that we can be able to measure is the variety. Or the range of the products. The variety or the range. So how do we compute the range? The range will be percentage of sales. It will be percentage of new sales. Percentage of new sales. So the new product is being sold at 125, while the existing is 550. So 550 plus 125 times 100. That's the only thing that we can be able to use to gauge whether the customer is happy or not happy. Get that percentage. Okay, 18.52. 18.52%. So that's a good percentage of new things. That's a good percentage of new things. The next dimension that we need to look at is business process. Business process. So we ask ourselves, what is it that we can be able to comment or to judge in regard to the internal business processes? Now, for the internal business processes, it's about how efficient we are. It's about how efficient we are. So we can compute something like we can get unit production costs. We can get unit production costs. so that we say, or we check whether it's going down or it's not going down. So for the existing, you can see the cost were 375. And the units that were produced, they were 25. So give me that cost. Yeah, I can see it's 15. For the new product, you can see the cost is 70 and the units are 5. So tell me how much is that? We have 14. So what you can see is that the business process is doing well, at least because you can see with the new product, the cost has come down. The cost is coming down to 14. The last one that we can comment about is the running and growth. Running and growth perspective. So how can we measure whether there is some running? Now this one, you can look at the cost of money that we are spending on, so the cost of, they are calling it what? The cost of development. The cost of development is a percentage of sales. Or we just call it cost of development. So we will get it as percentage of sales. Percentage of sales. If you look at the amount, we are spending 47,000, and our total sales are 550 plus 125. So you multiply this by 100. What percent is that? %7. So we are spending just 7% more money on research. There is something else that we can still bring here, particularly for those who believe you must use everything. The issue of productivity. Productivity, you can either put it as part of running and growth, or some people will put it as business process. Whether we have improved. But for me, it can feature anywhere. So productivity, we want to see how many units are we making per hour. So I can call it productivity per hour. So for the existing products, for the existing, you can see we were making 25 units using 5 hours. So if you divide 25 by 5, you'll be able to know 1 hour is giving us how many units? 1 hour is giving us how many units? Yeah, 5. For the new, you can see we are making 5,000 using 1250. So it is 5,000 using 1250 hours. So 1 hour is giving us how many units? Yeah, you can see it's giving us 4. So that shows that in terms of our running and growth, there is improvement. Is it? No. There is no improvement. There's no improvement because here 1 hour is just giving us 4. And this one was giving us 5. So here we are not doing so well. We are not doing well because we are producing fewer units. So I think that is okay. Not unless you have a concern. Are we okay with that? Only June appears to be okay. We can wait for the others. Oh, many others. Royce, Jack, Ivarin, Dorcas, Vati, Rhoda. Good. Let's proceed to Cynthia. Let's proceed to the next question that says that AZK Limited, a manufacturing company, is planning to launch a new product model whose life cycle is 3 years. The following estimated data has been provided. So we have that: research, production cost, marketing, distribution, all that. The marketing director believes that customers could only pay 120 per unit, but the finance director believes this will not cover all the projected costs throughout the product's life cycle. So evaluate the life cycle cost per unit, and then you comment on the target price by the marketing director, and you suggest some ways of reducing any cost gap. You suggest some ways of reducing any cost gap that could be existing. So question 4B is on what we call life cycle, product costing method, life cycle product costing methods. So we will have a column called details. Maybe we can first of all fill in the items that will be there. I will have units, production units. I will start with the production units. Then I will have research costs. I can begin with the costs. These units hata tunaweza zifungia zikae kando on their own so that they don't confuse anyone. So the units to be on their own. Then we start bringing the costs. The first cost that we can see is research. We have research and development. Research and development. Then we have production. And this production, we have the variable one. And then we also have the fixed one. Then we have marketing. Marketing, again, we have variable. And then we have a fixed one. Then we have distribution. And distribution is fixed. It is fixed. We don't have the variable component. Then we have equipment, disposal costs, equipment disposal costs, and that will help us get a figure called total costs. Will help us get a figure called total costs. That will help us get a figure called total costs. And then this total cost, I can call it A. I can call it A. Then there is something else they are calling the present value factor. The present value factor, and I want to call it B. Then I will have the last item as present value. And present value will be arrived at A times B. It will be arrived at as A times B. So those will be the items that I need to identify. Those will be the items that I need to identify. So I can have my figures in thousands. I can have my figures in thousands. So 1st January 2018, 1st January 2018, we don't have units. We don't have units, but the research cost is $850.4. Everything else is empty. So my total cost here is $850.4. Present value is 1. And therefore, 850 times 850.4 times 1 is 850.4. So that will be the end of my first year. That will be the end of my first year. I go to the second year or the second period, which is that 1st of December 2018. The units that were produced, they are 20. There was some research of 200. But before I record that, let me record the variable so that I'm able to know how far it will go. My column, I'll need to say 20 units times the variable cost of 100. How much is that? 20 times 100 is how much? Yeah, good. 2,000. 2,000. So my column, the figure hapo. So with that now, I can be able to present my research. Niseme 200 hapa. Then the fixed production in that year is 500. 500. Marketing in that year is 12. So 20 times 12. 20 times 12 is what? $240. Good. Fixed marketing is 200. Fixed marketing is 200. Distribution that is fixed is 120. There is no disposal costs. So now give me the total costs. Give me the total cost of that year. 3260. Good. 3260. So the PVF factor is 0.89. So multiply and give me the answer. Multiply this by 0.89. $29.01.4. 29.01.4. I proceed now to that 1st of December 2019. So I first of all go to the units. The units, I'm told they are 20 also. So starting here with the variable, it will be 20 times 80. So 20 times 80 gives us how much? 20 times 80 is 1600. So that means my space inakuja mpaka hapo. Then I can now bring that here there is no research, but the fixed is now 500. Then for the marketing is 20 times 8. That should be 160. Is that so? Good. For the fixed is 150. Distribution is 120. There is no disposal. So give me the total. 25, 30. The PVF factor, we are told, is 0.80. So multiply. $20.24. Good. We proceed to the next, that 1st of December 2020. The units are 20 again. So I'll need, there is no research. So I'll need to say 20 times 90. 20 times 90 is what? 1800. So my space goes up that point. 1800. 1800, that's where my space goes to. For the fixed, it is 500. 500. When I come to marketing, it will be 20 times 10, which should be 200. Should be 200. The fixed marketing is 100. The fixed marketing is 100. And then huyu mwingine ni 120. And the disposal is 300. The disposal is 300. So give me that total. That is 20. The PVF factor is 0.71. So when you multiply 2144.2, 2144.2. So with that now, below the table, you'll be able to tell us unit life cycle costs, unit life cycle costs will be equal to, you now add these present values, these ones, 850.4 plus 2901.4 plus 2024 plus 2144.2. You divide by the units, which are 20 plus 20 plus 20. So that you are able to know what is the cost per unit that was produced. In the life cycle of that product. Yeah, good. I can see shillings 132. Shillings 132. So with that now, we proceed and get what they are calling the cost gap. So cost gap is normally given as actual costs minus target costs. Minus target costs. Minus target costs. So in this case, the actual cost is this 132, and the target cost is what the marketing manager believes should be what the customers can pay. So that gives us a gap of 12. Yeah, a gap of 12. So in that case, you are told to recommend some ways in which we can reduce the gap. Measures to reduce the gap. to reduce cost gap. So one, because you can see the actual cost is more, you can propose to use cheaper materials. Use cheaper materials. You can also propose use of cheaper labor. You can also propose use of cheaper marketing and distribution. Marketing and distribution channels or mediums and so on. So the key thing there is just targeting the elements of cost that exist there in the question, and you propose that they should be looked at. We should look at those costs and reduce them. So I think we should be okay with that. And if we are okay, type yes, so that I proceed to question 5. Okay, good. You can see the yes is coming. So question 5A says, explain 4 shortcomings of traditional budgeting. Shortcomings of traditional budgeting. So that one, that is the question of November 2018, question 5A. It has come from the topic known as budgeting. The topic known as budgeting. And we are talking of shortcomings. We are talking of shortcomings or weaknesses or disadvantages. I want you to take the handout that I gave you on budgeting and tell me how many disadvantages you can see on the first page of that handout. The handout on budgeting, tell me how many disadvantages. Amanda can see 4, Lucy 4, Ivarine 4, Jacqueline 4, good. Now on top of those ones, those are the answers that you could have provided. But on top of those ones, I could add a few. One is that there is issues of inefficiencies. When you start budgeting, especially when you are using what we call the incremental budgeting approach, you find that the past inefficiencies can be carried forward to the future. Number 2, there is raw responsiveness. Raw responsiveness to changes. Raw responsiveness to changes. That is what, in other words, we would call rigidity. Now that we have budgeted, kila kitu sasa iko sawa. So we don't allow any new thing coming in the course of the budget period. It has to wait until the next budget. So people become very slow to responding to changes, some of which could be very, very important. There is also another challenge, is inability to motivate behavior. You see, when things have been planned, mambo imepangwa, imewekwa. So sisi ni kufuata tu. So there is no that urge to do something beyond. In any case, you will not get the resources. You will not be facilitated, so to put it, to do anything beyond the budget. So people just react, and when we react, that is very bad to the organization. There is also an aspect of disconnection from strategic plan. You have done a lot of strategy, and you know a good strategic plan should cover how many years? Let me see. A good strategic plan on average should be how many years or how long? Jack says 3, McKenna says 5, Isa says 10, Celestine says 3. On average, on the minimum, kama ni kidogo sana, it should be 3 years. Ikienda sana ndio inafika 10 years. But the average, most of the average strategic plans, you'll find they have 5 years, because 5 is average. It's not too near, neither is it too far. Now, you know the maximum period for a budget. The maximum period for a budget is 1 year. So if you are just budgeting for 1 year, you are likely to be disconnected from the strategic plan of 5 years. Not unless you become very smart and tell us the 5-year milestones, we are achieving them per year. So this year, tunaonyesha what we are achieving. Next year, what we are achieving. Next year, what we are achieving. So that by the end of the strategic plan, we have achieved. But at times, that connection may be lost. That connection may be lost, and you find we have just become annual. And when you become annual, you suffer the problems of short-termism. So that is good enough. With that, I seek to proceed to part next, that is B. Discuss factors that could encourage the adoption of activity-based costing in a large service organization. Why should we? Now, in the same handout, I want you to peruse where we discussed factors that lead to adoption of ABC, and tell me how many are there. How many are there? Factors that lead to or that make ABC to be popular. How many can you see? When you peruse through that handout, yeah, Jack can see 6, Lucy 6, Amanda 6, Celestine, good. So those are the ones that will copy. Achieng can see 6, Celestine also. So those are the answers to that. So just copy 6 of them the way they are. And I think on that basis, I proceed to part C. Of the question. Z Limited has received an order to supply 30 units of product A. So far, 14 units have been completed. The first unit required 40 direct labor hours. and a total of 240 direct labor hours have been recorded for the 14 units. Additional information is that the production manager expects an 80% learning effect for this type of work. The company uses standard absorption costing. The costs attributable to the center in which product A is manufactured are, we have direct materials, direct labor, variable overheads, and fixed overheads. You are told to get the learning curve index and to get the unit costs. So that question of November 2018, question 5C is on running cars. Is on running cars. Methods. So the first thing is running index. We are told to get the running index. Now, the running index, remember, is what we call B. Is what we call B. And we know this is given as the log of R. You divide by the log of 2. So in this question, we are informed that the index, the rate is 80%. So we will need to say the log of 0.8. You divide by the log of 2. Give me to 3 decimals minus 0.322. So this one, you know quickly, it is followed by B plus 1. B plus 1, that will be minus 0.322 plus 1. That is 0.678. Then the value of A. A, the time taken to make the first unit. Index imeishia hapa. Hiyo ndio index. June index ndio hiyo. So these others are just a few things that I want to facilitate the workings. So A is the time taken. Is the time taken to make the first one. So we are told the first required 40 hours. The first required 40 hours. Then X here, X is tunaambiwa we get the cost of the that unit. So for that unit, so X is 30 units. So those were some figures that we needed. So from there now, let us seek to get the unit cost. Kabla kufunga hapo ningetafuta time. Let me squeeze it here. I need to get y bar. Y bar. And why I'm going for the y bar is because I am headed to getting unit cost. And unit cost is the cost of 1 unit. The cost of 1 unit. So I need to know the time for the for 1 unit, the average. Alternatively, you could get the total of 30. You divide by 30. So this one, we know the formula is AX raised power B. AX raised power B. So this then should be 40 times 30 raised to power minus 0.322. Give me that answer. Maybe to 1 decimal place. Give me the average to 1 decimal if it has decimals. The average time. I can see 13.4 hours. 13.4 hours. Good. So in proceeding, I will need to bring direct materials. Direct materials. So direct materials per unit is that bob. So it is 30.0 in case you have 1 decimal. Then direct labor will be 13.4 times 6. 13.4 times 6 is how much? $80.4. Then I need variable overheads, or I first of all just say overheads. Then I start with the variable. For the variable, I will need the hours, 13.4 multiplied by 0.5. Multiplied by 0.5, 6.7. 6.7. Then for the fixed, we are given for the 4-week period as 6,000. Now we will assume, or we will take, that during this period, they only made that unit. So you divide by 30. You divide by 30. Again, give me per unit. Per unit is 200. So get the total. Get the total 317.1. 317.1. Aha. Hiyo tumemaliza. And now we are in May 2018. May 2018, question 1. A company manufacturing roof tiles has been considering the likely demand for the tiles over the next 6 years. The demand pattern is estimated as follows. High demand for 6 years, low demand for 6 years, high demand for 3 years, followed by low demand for 3 years. There is no probability of a low demand followed by high demand. Enlargement of capacity will be required, and the following options are available. Option A, install a fully automatic facility immediately at a cost of 10.8 million. B, install a semi-automatic facility immediately at a cost of 8 million. C, install a semi-automatic facility immediately, as in option B above, and upgrade to a fully automatic facility at an additional cost of 4 million in 3 years' time, provided demand has been high, for the 3 years. The returns expected under the 3 capacity options and demand levels are as follows. So we are given all that. Required a decision tree representing the above information, and you advise the company on which capacity option to take, given that the objective is to maximize expected monetary value. So this question has come from what we call decision theory. And if it's coming from decision theory, we have 3 options. That is A, B, C. Then for each of them, there are 2 possible outcomes. Demand can be high or low, high or low, high or low. Now in option A, we are told if demand turns to be high for the first 3 years, there is a possibility it will continue high or it can go low. But this one, ikianza low, it remains. The same case here. The same case there for B. Then for C, if demand has been high, there are 2 possibilities that you can do. You can either upgrade or not upgrade. You can either upgrade or not upgrade. And whatever you do again in the next 3 years, demand can be high or low. Demand can be high or low. And this one remains the way it is. That one remains the way it is. So from there, we need to draw a fair copy. So the question is of May 2018. Question 1, and is coming from the topic called decision theory. Decision theory. So we need to get the payoff here. We will need to get the payoff. Need to get the payoff. And this payoff will be a makeup of two items. Be a makeup of two items. Here I will say the last 3 years. So annual payoff is the annual payoff. Annual payoff. That would be what would be happening for the second year, for the second phase. Then for the first phase, again of 3 years, the first phase of 3 years, we will also have the annual payoff. So the formula for our payoff, that is how we are going to compute them. That is how we will compute them. Then here, we will now design a very smart decision tree. And from what we have sketched here, we are going to have how many tables? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We are going to have 11 tables. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Have around a bigger space. I need 11 tails. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 tails that way. So kuna moja hapa iko na high. So I now need space for the upgrade here. Maybe this one I could have waited kidogo. Yo, sasa hapa. Kuja nitengeneze kitu kama hii. That's number 4. So I can call this 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is A, B, C. This is 9. So come up with such a tree. Maliza kuchora, useme drone. And before I forget, Mwalimu Wafula says you not have an afternoon AFM lesson. He will meet you tomorrow at 8 to 10. So today, 2 to 4, you will not have AFM, but instead you will meet him tomorrow at 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Okay, continue waiting for the others to finish. Can see John has finished. Karaoke has finished. Ivarine, Celestine, Cynthia. There's Amanda, Aching. Jack, finished. Okay, McKenna, we shall explain. Okay, the numbers that I've said finished should be a good sample. So let us now start recording. So beginning, we have options A, B, and C. That one I think is clear. For the first 3 years, for everyone, demand is either high or low. Demand is either high or low. For the first 3 years. Now here, there is some modifications or some judgments to be made. If you look at if you look at the first data that is given there for the probabilities, we are given high demand for 6 years, 0.5, low demand for 6 years, 0.3, and high demand for 3 years followed by low demand is 0.2. So it suggests like we should have three outcomes from here. But when you come to where the payoffs have been given, you can see we are just told when demand is high and when demand is low. So that means we must reduce the 3 to 2. We must reduce the 3 to 2 so that we are able to compute the payoffs. I hope that is understood. We must reduce the 3 to 2 so that we are able to compute the payoffs. How do we reduce that? For the probability of a row here, 6 years, that one is not in dispute. Work at 0.3, the probability for row, that is 0.3. That one not in dispute. It then means that the probability for high must be the balance that remains, 0.7. Must be the balance that remains. That is the simplest way of arguing that. But if you are good in probabilities, you could also compute the Bayesian. If you remember the Bayesian theorem, you could also compute. Though the answers may be slightly different, the probabilities may be slightly different, but the easiest way is to argue that. So having argued that way, when I come here, maybe I needed to, let's proceed step by step. Now in information number 2, we are told when you install A, it will cost you 10.8. So put up a work at 10.8 and you put it in brackets. B, 8 million, so work at 8 and you put it in brackets also. And you do the same for C, 8 million, because we are told C is similar to B. C is similar to B. When we go to C, we are told if demand is high, you can upgrade at an additional cost of 4 million. So I think this is where McKenna you are asking. We have 2 choices to make. We choose to upgrade here, or we choose no upgrade. We choose to upgrade or not to upgrade if demand has been high. And if you choose to upgrade, the cost will be 4 million. So 4 UF. If you choose to upgrade, the cost will be 4 million. Obviously, no upgrade, no cost is subtracted. Then we have the payoffs. Now, before we go to filling the payoffs, let us deal with these ones. Here, demand will either continue to be high for the next 6 years, the next 3 years, or it will now turn to be low. The same case here. The same case. So now, this 0.7, this 0.7 is a makeup of 2 probabilities up there. There was 0.5 for high and 0.2 for low. And because they are not adding to 1, that brings a bit of a Bayesian theorem. You divide by this total. So you divide by 0.7. And here you also divide by 0.7. So give me the answer to 1 decimal. Give me the answer. 0.5 divided by 0.7 to 1 decimal. What about 2 decimals? Because tukiweka hivyo inarudi tu hapa. Sisi wanataka irudi hapo, there should be a difference. What about 2 decimals? 0.71. Let's use that at least to show there is a small difference. 0.71, so this must be 0.29. 0.29. So the same thing will happen here, 0.71 and 0.29. Okay. Let us now start computing the payoffs. McKenna, is your concern addressed? Okay, as I wait for McKenna to respond, we proceed. Now, if you look at the payoffs down there for option A here, if demand is high for the first 3 years, actually they're just saying if demand is high. If demand is high, it is 3.2. So here, utaweka 3.2 times 3 plus, this is high. So 3.2 again times 3. Give me that answer. Yeah, 19.2. Then I come here. The first 3 years is 3.2. But now, the last 3 years, demand will be low. When it is low, it is 1.2. When it is low, we have 1.2. Waiting for the figure, 13.2. This other one, when you are in option A and it turns to be low, the first 3 years, low, the next 3 years, 7.2 of 7.2. Let's go to B now. B, when it is high, you get 1.8 multiplied by 3. The next 3 years will also be high. 1.8 times 3. Yeah, 10.8. Then here, 1.8 for the first 3 years. Then it changes to row. 1.6 for the next 3 years. The next 3 years. Oh, it's still 10.2. 10.2. Okay, 10.2. Then kama ni row itakuwa 1.6 times 3 plus 1.6 times 3. $9.6. When we come to C, we are told for the first 3 years, it will be like B. For the first 3 years, it will be like B. What that means is, B, when it is high, here, it is 1.8, 1.8, 1.8, 1.8. Remember, here is high for B. The first 3 years before we upgrade. Then this one is when B is low. When B is low, the first 3 years is 1.6. So the first 3 years of C are coming from B. So the effect of upgrading is coming in the last 3 years. If you have upgraded and it is high, oh, I needed to have come here through the upper to say high, row, high, row. We will still use the same probabilities we had up there, 0.71, 0.29, 0.71, 0.29. So we'll just use those probabilities. So from there now, when you have upgraded and it turns to be high, you earn 2.2 for 3 years. It's 2.2 for 3 years. So give me that. It's 12. Good. If you have upgraded and it turns to be low, you will make 0.6. 0.6 for 3 years. 7.2. If you have not upgraded and demand is high, no upgrade and demand is high, you have 1.0 for 3 years. 1.0 for 3 years. Yeah, 8.4. And if you have not upgraded and it is low, you will make 1.6 for 3 years. That is 10.2. Then this one is just remaining as 1.6. Even here 1.6 times 3. And that is the one that is going to 9.6. Going to 9.6. So the next thing that we need now is to work out the EMVs. Is to work out the EMVs. So down there, we have here expected monetary value. So we begin with number 1. Number 1, the arrows going out, these ones, they are complete. So we will need to take the probabilities. So utasema ni 0.71 multiplied by 19.2 plus 0.29 multiplied by 13.2. $17.46. 17.46. I go to number 2. Number 2, the lines going out are complete. So it will be 0.7 times what I've gotten in number 1, 17.46 plus 0.3 times what is going mpaka huko mwisho for this line, 7.2. And because you can see there is a cost that is coming in here, 10.8, you subtract it. You subtract 10.8. You subtract 10.8. $3.582. 3.582. Number next, that is number 3. It will be 0.71 times what is getting there, that is 10.8 plus 0.29 times 10.2. That one does not have a cost getting in there. $10.626. $10.626. I get to number 4, where I will say 0.7 times what is going in number 3, 10.626 plus 0.3 times hii iko hapo 9.6. And then you minus the cost that is getting in there, 8. You minus 8. $2.3182. 2.3182. Next is number 5. So number 5, the probability is again 0.71 times 12 plus 0.29 times 7.2 minus, there is a cost coming in there, minus 4. Minus 4. $6.608. I go to number 6. 0.71 times 8.4 plus 0.29 times 10.2. There is no cost getting in there. There is nothing to subtract. June, you are saying just 0.7. Where was 0.7? Tuko hapa kwa number 6, June. Yeah. Give me this. 8.922. 8.922. Then I go now to number 7. When I get to number 7, the arrows moving out are incomplete. So that is the case of selecting. So it is the higher EMV in 5 and 6. It is the higher EMV in number 5 and 6. And the higher there in this one, 8.922. 8.922. And only one person gave me the figure of 8.922, so I believe the others are comfortable with it. Is that so? Okay, yes, resting. Let's go to number 8 now. We go to number 8. Is Ivarin, June, good. So number 8, the lines going out are complete. So it is a case of 0.7 times what we have in number 7. That is 8.922 plus 0.3 times ile iko huko mwisho 9.6. Then, as you can see, there is a cost coming in there. Number 8, an amount of 8. So subtract and give me the final result. $1.1254. And going back kidogo hapa, when you select, you need to tell us the selection came from where, or the figure was picked from where. This 8.9 tumeichukua kwa number 6. So you come and mark that way. You come and mark that way. Come and mark that way. Then let us go to number 9. So number 9, the lines going out, you can see they are incomplete. So it's a case of selection. And because there are 3, we will be looking for the highest EMV in 2, 4, and 8. 2, 4, 8. So 2 iko na 3.5, 4 iko na 2.3, 8 iko na 1.1. So the highest happened is 3.582. 3.582. And here 3.582 umechukuliwa kwa number 2, and number 2 is in regard to A. So you mark A that way. And based on that, now you can come and offer your advice. You can offer your advice whereby tulikuwa tumeulizwa advise on which capacity option to take. So take capacity option A. We should go for capacity option A. Capacity option A. So we call it a day at that point. A day at that point. Remember, I said, Mr. Wafula says that you will not have a lesson today in the afternoon, but instead he will meet you tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. The other thing is our blocks are officially coming to an end next week on Friday. So we have 2 more lessons to meet. And as we said, some of these recordings are being done and posted online. Mine, you can get them. I'm also posting them to the groups, and you can also get them in my channel together with a few others. So it says there, make sure you are putting all the effort together because the exams are there. I've seen some people question whether the exams will be done. The exams will be there. We have not heard any signal that the exams will not be there. So put your house in order and be ready to go and confirm you know these things. So thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend.